It's enigmatic, never feel alone. It's enigmatic, so fun. Never feel alone. So fun. It's enigmatic, never feel alone. 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 It's so fun, you gotta go with me. It's so fun. It's so fun. It's so fun. It's so fun, you gotta go with me. It's so fun. Come on, yeah. Never felt that, come on, yeah. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. You gotta get up. Never feel alone. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. Never felt that, come on, yeah. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. You gotta get up. Never feel alone. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. Never felt that, come on, yeah. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. You gotta get up. Never feel alone. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. Never felt that, come on, yeah. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. You gotta get up. Never feel alone. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. Never felt that, come on, yeah. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. You gotta get up. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. Never felt that, come on, yeah. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. You gotta get up. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. Never felt that, come on, yeah. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. You gotta get up. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. Never felt that, come on, yeah. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. You gotta get up. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. Never felt that, come on, yeah. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. You gotta get up. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. Never felt that, come on, yeah. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. You gotta get up. When I never felt that, come on, yeah. Never felt that, come on, yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome. Actually, just a moment. There, now I mean it. Hello everyone once again and welcome to the stream. My name is Douglas and today I'm gonna be working on the 17th page of my comic, Call Me Father. And also, hey Sam and Nipter, welcome to the stream, the both of you. Today we're gonna see me color that smiling Nathan from last time. Yes, you will. So, what we have in store for today is precisely that. Nathan, our smiling tiger dude, who is super happy to be here with us. But only for the second panel, because after that, things get crazy. So they get really hectic, and you guys will see. But other than that, friends or newcomers alike, hello and welcome. By the way, music, I almost forgot the music. Today I have different music, so I hope you guys enjoy it. By the way, it is copyrighted music, so bleh. But there we go. So how are you guys doing today? I am doing pretty alright myself. I went ahead and sketched a little bit more. So this is what we have for today's page. It's Nathan here at this place where he is, saying bye to his co-worker. Then here, the second panel, he picks up the phone. He's looking happy, pretty jolly. Then in the third panel, he gets a surprise in his call. So from this look, you can already assume that he's not getting good news. He's getting something bad on the other side of the line. And then our city panel with him quickly crossing the street, which I'll refine a little bit later. I'll refine it quite a lot, in fact, because this is pretty not good. And then here for our fifth panel we have Nathan kind of desperate, as you can see, trying to come up with looking like he's explaining himself. Because that's what he is doing. And then lastly we have Nathan here, once again with this look that things are not going his way, so he's holding the phone against his head and grasping his forehead in that even more desperation. So this is what's going on with Nathan for this panel. And I didn't finish drawing this panel here, but let's do it right now. I mean, why not? So Sam said that smile somewhat cute on him, and he had a biology test today and did great on it. That's great to hear, Sam. But he found out that we will have 5 tests in the next week. Well, so long as it's not 2 tests per day, I think you'll do fine. Little do you know, college is exactly the same thing. Nipter, good to hear. I'm doing alright. Huh. I'm glad you think so. Sam, you think you know why he is freaked out? Oh, the theories are starting already. But anyway, this is it. It's Nathan looking quite desperate as he clutches to the phone, and in this I wanted to give. I've been thinking, not with a whole lot of success, what kind of emotion your character would have if, for example, they were kind of okay, on an okay mood, then they get a call from somebody who they are friends with, and then this person starts to give them really bad news, and really bad news. But since it's delivered through the phone, the range of emotions is kind of limited. But I've been thinking, what kind of expression, what kind of emotion would a person in this situation have? And this is as far as I could have gotten. It's this motion here of clutching his phone, and then also holding his forehead and looking down with eyebrows frown like this. There we go. Sam, as far as you know, sometimes people do cheat on tests in your class. And if there was so many cheating in your college and university, like on every exam, people will do that, truth be told. So this hand here really is being problematic. I don't know how exactly to deal with this one. Because even though the shoulders are supposed to be at the same height, the elbows are not, because this one is lower, because his arm is slightly more extended, and so he can, it's more flexed, so he can hold the phone against his face, and this elbow is slightly more up, so he can hold onto his head. So this is an assortment of weird motions, all in all. That's crazy. But and Sam, as far as you are aware, only sometimes. Well, people probably cheat on every test. Your school is super hard. And Grizz, it's easy to cheat on an online test, but not a written test. And I don't know, I have cheated countless times in tests, especially in college. But anyway, that's nor here nor there. Sam, should you share your theories? Only if you want to. But to be fair, the cheating I did while in college was not, well, wasn't straight out, well, it was cheating, but I personally don't feel like it was pretty It was a bad kind of cheating. Because depending on what college you're doing, what course you're going through, you probably will have some mathematics classes like calculus and whatnot, and that it gets really freaky when you have to memorize, say, 6 formulas for different equations and when to use them. And normally the teachers, they don't give this out. They give you the text, but the test, but they don't the exam, and they don't have these equations you will need to use, and they are not something you can deduce. It's something you have to memorize. They don't have it available anywhere, so either you memorize it or you will be stuck because you will have no idea what to do with these numbers they are giving you. So what I did was take with me a little piece of paper with these formulas and one short example of that formula being used. That's so I could have some reference to go by in these exams. I never did very good, but I always had like passing grades. Because then again, knowing how to apply the formula and correctly interpret what they want you to do, that's the way to go. But it gets really weird if it's outright impossible to perform well on the test if you don't know the formulas. And since the teachers would not give you the formulas, if you didn't know that, you were guaranteed to have a 0 on your exam, so that was the only kind of cheating I did. Well, that and having friendly colleagues kind of whisper me what their answers were before handing out the exam, but that's slightly more particular. But anyway, cheating is bad, kids. At least I admit there's some that are bad, says Sam. I mean, I don't know, it feels to me, for me, that was fair. Because I know that if someday in real life I need to make mathematical calculations, first of all, I will have tools at my disposal to make these calculations for me. So it feels slightly unfair that they would require me to memorize all these things and do it on the fly without any tools or calculators or whatever to assist me. Besides, I was in a design course, and that's not the foundation of the course. The foundation of design course is, well, design, not calculus. So I knew it was a subject I needed to pass if I wanted to keep doing college, but I knew I would not use it throughout the rest of my course. So yeah, I cheated. Because in a way, it didn't matter. Of course, morally it always matters, but in the context of that exam, it didn't matter if I cheated or not. All that mattered academically is that I passed on that class and was able to attend the next semester. But anyway, Sam, your theory is that Gavin found out that Nathan wrote about him and he is mad. And even if it becomes hard, you won't cheat. Well, that's good on you, Sam. For not giving in though to the temptation of cheating. And Nipter. Yes, my accent is kind of weird and sounds like I'm saying cheating, but I'm actually saying cheating. Cheating. However you say that. Cheating is fine if you have to learn shit. And yeah, I mean, in the end, I was cheating because I knew I would not use that in my studies. It was just a requirement subject that I needed to do in case I wanted to keep doing my course, and it would lock me from doing other cool things that I wanted to do. So I shamelessly cheated. But that's only because, well, for an assortment of reasons. But then again, I am not a bad student. I can understand the subjects and I can actually learn the things, but I could not in that one class I had. For several reasons. First and foremost, our teachers were really bad. We changed teachers 3 times during the course of a single semester, so learning that one specific subject was challenging enough that I didn't care if I cheated or not. But anyway, Sam asks, what's the diminutive of Douglas? I'd rather you didn't shorten my name. If you're gonna shorten my name, just say Doug. Rody, hey, welcome to the stream. And Sam says south part of Brazil accent. Not really. It's not an accent of the southern part of Brazil in itself. It's a Brazilian person speaking English kind of accent. That's what it is. But in any case, how are you doing, Rody? Rody Sabes. What's up with you today? Other than that, yes, I do believe that if I was able to, I mean, I would not have needed a sheet if I knew this, if I could have learned the subject, but I could not learn the subject. I attended every single class. I tried my best. Well, I tried, but I could not learn the subject. Whereas I learned every single other subject college gave us, so maybe the problem was with that one particular subject. But anyway, Chandler, welcome to the stream. How are you doing today? And all you want for Crimbus is a ferret boy. I'm sorry, we don't have ferret boys in here, I'm afraid. But welcome to the stream nonetheless. A ferret boy free stream. What's up with you today? By the way, today we have some freaky music playing. I say freaky because actually it is... what's the name of that? There is a little game. It's not that popular. Some of you may have heard of it. Some of you may not have heard of it because it's kind of a cult little game that not a whole lot of people have heard about. It's called GTA 5. It has radio stations in it, and there is this radio station that plays, I think it's down tempo, chill something music. Chill tempo music, I think. chill down, chillax, I don't know. Something like that is the name of the genre. And there is this radio station in the game that plays these musics. And I found it on YouTube and I have it playing right now. Maybe the volume is a little too low, maybe you guys can hear it pretty well, but in any case it is playing and I hope you guys like it. And you're doing alright, and poor Tigger Boy is distressed AF. He is, look at this distressed face of distress muzzle. He's not having the best day. And other than that, Sam, you shall think about Mr. Chandler as a ferret. Huh. Chandler, do vector layers freak up my line work? Vector layers? I don't use vector layers really. I mean, I have heard that Clip Studio has vector layers, but I never truly tried to use them, so I have no idea. I can't help you in that matter. And also, hey Kizzy! Kizzy, Art, Fox, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? What is up with you today, this lovely Tuesday, where I'm streaming earlier than usual because I changed my schedule once again. And what do you guys say? And Kizzy, yes, in your last stream you was not a fox boy, you were a human boy. How did that feel like? Cause I don't know, I'd imagine I have never owned nor used a fursuit before. But I have once used the theatrical mask because, well, I had access to theatrical mask during a phase of my life. So I used them, not in plays or anything, I just used them just for fun. And I have to say, when you are using a mask, theatrical mask, you feel a sort of freedom that you can do things you normally wouldn't do, you can say things you wouldn't normally say. So I feel like it is easier to be more outgoing and talkative and more inhibited when wearing a fursuit. So I'd imagine how different it must have been to be without one. But then again, there are people who are naturally pretty outgoing themselves, so I wouldn't know. Sam, you're here to cheer everyone up. That's awesome to hear, Sam. And Kizzy, love watching me work. Always so interesting. Oh, I'm glad you think so. Thank you so very much. I'll keep working then, since that's so interesting. Chandler, you've been thinking about using them again because you think you found a good setting for them in Clip Studio Paint. In the past, when you convert a layer to a vector, it kinda distorts your lines, but I think you fixed that. It makes line arting a lot easier. And hard to say really. I mean, oh yeah, I didn't mean to do the whole thing. I meant to do just the hand. I wouldn't know really, because for me, if you are working with a drawing tablet, I don't think you need vector layers, because I do like this expression of actually going and drawing the lines by hand. And if you go and use vectors or to do the line art for you, I guess it loses a little bit of personality that your brush strokes have That is what makes the quote-unquote traditional art worthwhile for me. Because I really do like this feeling of ruggedness and things not being perfect. The lines not being exactly super crisp and sharp and perfect. I like when there are little mistakes and little deformities here and there, because it gives your line art, your manual line art, the sense that it's that oh, I don't know, for me it just gives this stylist look of, hey, I'm actually did this by hand, and I like it. But that's me. Sam, I have to agree, my art style is very interesting to see. Thank you, Sam. And Chandler, you don't understand how he does it, to be honest. Looks good AF, and his characters are always so cute. Sam, an art style always has a unique feeling to it. My art style is very captivating to see. Oh, I'm glad you guys think so. But if you are willing to use vector layers for doing comic book work, Chandler, I mean not comic book work, for doing illustration in general, I'm sorry, but I don't know how to help you. I never used the vector layer functionalities in Clip Studio, but I don't think it should be. I don't think it should be that hard. But one thing I would recommend you though is to, at first, trying to keep the line weight consistent, like using the same line weight throughout everything, and then starting to get a feel for the line weight, because I think that bamboozles everyone, younger starting artists, is the line weight when they start to go into this whole line art thing and developing their style and whatnot. The line weight bamboozles everyone, and adjusting the line weight in vectors is easy, but you get a fake sense. You don't have the feeling for how light or not it should be. It's kind of hard. Like I said, I would recommend you don't use vectors for learning. But if you're gonna use it just for production, then sure. Go for it. Definitely go for it. If it makes your job easier and faster, go for it. Or outright more enjoyable to work on, then do that. And Grizz, mistakes are perfection in different ways, and it still shows how you improve. Chandler says mistakes piss you off, though in recent weeks it's been improving. And Sam, you have to leave for now. Sure thing, Sam. Take care and stay awesome, dude. Donald Duck the Viking, peekaboo. Hello to you too. How are you doing? Ah, it's this effing hand. I want you to work with me. But anyway, Kizzy, a thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is this whole thing of using a webcam in my streams. At first I was against it. I mean, I think it would be way distracting. But I have seen a lot of streamers using webcams, and it seems like it helps them with interacting with the viewers better, like doing little waves and whatnot. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Because I also see a lot of streamers with webcams with webcams that do not interact with the public at all, and streamers without webcams that are still pretty good at interacting with people. And then again, those streamers that use face rig should throw in some virtual character in there and still have the sense of I think I figured out what's wrong with this hand. Yeah, streamers who don't use webcam but still interact with their viewers in awesome ways, and streamers who use face rig to use the virtual animals. So it's a kind of a middle ground between having and not having a webcam. Donald Duck, thanks, you don't have the name for nothing. You can do the Donald Duck voice impressions as well. And Chandler, you with your face reveal urges. I feel like a face reveal should be reserved for. I mean, it should be reserved for a day that has already passed, which would be, I think it was December 21st of 2012. I think that was the day when the world was supposed to end. That was the prime day for doing a face reveal, but that day has already passed. So, I don't know, whenever people say the world is gonna end again, that's probably when a good date for doing a face reveal in the future. Who knows? So I feel like it should be something like this. The hand should not be pretend this is the cuff of the shirt. It should not be fake. It should not be like this, and either like this. I feel like it should be somewhat straight, more or less like this. And this is the tricky thing about drawing things. I have to make constant pauses to hold objects in your other hand. I keep looking at your other hand with weird expressions and trying to figure out how the hell that works. That's so you can make a convincing drawing of a hand. I don't know if this works though. Rody, that's one huge fluffy chin. It actually is. And you've seen a couple do a face rig on streams, one on Picardo and one on Twitch. Chandler, you know he's a fluffy boy doing now. Yeah. I mean, for me, I think the face rig thing would be the best option. Problem with it is they don't have German Shepherd dogs, and that makes me very, very sad. Anyway, Rody, hands are the hardest to draw, you swear? I won't disagree with you, because in fact they are one of the hardest things to draw indeed. There are a lot of people who can't do hands right, and a lot of people who give up on doing hands and go for easier alternatives like hiding the hands or doing square hands, which then they make make it look like it's an acquired art style, but it's actually a simplification of hands. And people who, for whatever gosh dang reason I can't understand, go for the 3-fingered hands. Instead of drawing all 4 fingers and thumb, they cut one finger out, and they feel like that makes sense, and I don't get why. That doesn't make sense, that doesn't look good. But people do that. And would you look at that, Liraji84 is now following me on Twitch. Hello Liraji, and welcome to the stream. How are you doing today? And welcome to our little pack. And Grizz, you think the end has already come and passed? Literally, all things in life right now is really difficult to get by in these days. It depends, not really. It is weird, but it isn't the end times yet. And Chandler face rig, no. Guess we'll have to settle with the typical webcam. And Grizz, you've seen Husky and Corgi face rigs. I have not seen Corgis, I don't think. I have seen the Shiba and the quote-unquote default wolf. And what I have seen about doing is getting the default wolf and retexturing it to make it look like a German Shepherd Doge boy. But that's kind of weird too. But I don't know. That would be my only option if webcam were to become a thing, I feel. And Lorange, it says your pleasure. But in any case, welcome to the stream. And I hope you're doing super dandy today. Like I was saying before, this is a lovely Tuesday. The sun is shining, the birds are singing, the world is not ending, well, not actively ending, so it is a good day in general. I guess we can all agree on that.
Gotta love that. Music from Spain, music from Kyoto, out to everyone chilling right now in Galileo Park. Music from Toro y Moi, we're keeping it going, keeping it rolling. GP, it's Worldwide FM.
Speaking of which, by the way, you people, is the music too low or too loud or weird in a way? Cause I don't know. Okay, after several iterations, I finally managed to do a convincing hand. I think. And Chandler, music is low AF. Okay, I thought so. Normally the places I get music from, they come in a good volume. This one though, it came at a really weird, freaky volume. So let's correct it. I think this should make it better somehow. The music should be slightly better now. And there we go, we have a hand. Along with this other hand, which we will not be using. Lemon Lime Soda Dogo. Hello, welcome to the stream. Actually, Sprite. Forgot. You asked me to call this Sprite. But anyway, welcome to the stream. And how weird. My alerts are playing twice. They should not be playing twice, but they are playing twice, so the sound is coming in double. Sorry about that. But anyway. Sprite, how are you doing? So this first hand here is the one we will not be using, so let's discard it. Let's keep going on with the other hand, the one that should be holding his head. It's really annoying to work with hands like this when they are interacting with another object. Because when you're simply drawing hands by themselves, normally you can choose whatever angle you want, and nobody can tell you that's the wrong angle. However, when your hands, the hands you're drawing, are interacting with another object in the scene, that's when things get crazy, because they have to match that angle, and matching hand angles is, well, it is not fun. This is what I mean to say. Sprite, you're good. Is that a new page? It is the same page I was working on Tuesday. So I don't know, if you were here Tuesday, then no, it's not a new page, it's the same page. If you were here on, if you were not here on Tuesday, but were here last week or whenever else, then yeah, it is the new page. It is this week's page. And you suck at that, at doing hands. I mean, hands are the banes of most artists' existence. Because I don't know if you guys have ever truly, quote-unquote, played with your hands. Like, simply looking at it, holding your fingers with your other hand, bending them a little bit, making poses and whatever. Hands are freaky weird. They don't make a whole lot of sense. Like, they can bend in ways you didn't think it could, along with other things. Besides, what's weirdest about hands isn't even that. The weirdest thing about the hands... what was I gonna say? Well then, whatever it was, I forgot. So don't pay that too much mind. But anyway, hands are something you can learn. What you do, you can break it down into a process. And as with most other body parts, you can break it down into basic geometrical shapes and get a good sense for how they are supposed to be or supposed to look like, supposed to behave and whatnot. But in any case, I'm not truly feeling this hand here in his head, so let's see if I can come up with something else. Which is the thing I was gonna say, I remember now. The weirdest thing about hands is not exactly the whole drawing of the hands, but the quote-unquote weird things about hands. Let me just fix this thing here. The weird thing about hands is that in real life your hands don't bend as much, they don't make these exaggerated motions. Your hands are pretty subtle in real life. But if you are doing static media like illustrations and comic books and whatnot, it is generally a good idea to exaggerate the hands movement a little bit, that so you can really nail whatever is the mood or expression you want to give with your hands. So real life hands, they would not bend this much or be this expressive, but since this is a comic and I need the readers to understand what I want them to understand, I have to exaggerate the hand motions. So I don't have to, but it's easier for people to understand if I do exaggerate the hand motions. So you have to be better at drawing hands if you want to be able to draw these exaggerated motions and expressions. And that's the weird thing. And sprite, when you draw, you use yourself as model. So do I. It is actually one of the best things to do, truly. I mean, if you have the time and the resources, more what I mean is if you do have the time to spend in gathering references, then sure. But sometimes it is easier for you to simply go and act out the pose you want instead of truly going there and trying to find these one very specific reference that fits whatever it is you're trying to do. And this arm just doesn't look right. Let me try to connect it here. And sprite, do you have a mirror next for me to practicing poses? I don't have a mirror next to me, no. What I used to have is a webcam, since I draw mainly on my computer. The thing I did was, like drawing on a tablet in my computer, I would have a webcam on my other monitor, so I could look at myself, do poses, an expression, or take photos, and that would help me with getting references. Or a mirror. That's a cheaper version of that. A cheaper and more accessible version of having a webcam plugged to a second monitor. Sprite, no, you have a wild imagination, you pick it in your head. Oh yeah, it was Grizz who asked. I have a mirror. Or if whoever has a mirror. So, like I showed and told you guys, this entire pose, this entire hand here, well, not the hand, but the arm, it wasn't really working out for me, proportion wise. Because the thing I like to do is very oftenly draw the body, like the actual limbs, before drawing the clothes, instead of drawing the character already clothed. It helps me with getting the anatomy right. However, it can lead me to feeling weirded out about the anatomy, proportions, and everything else. So maybe it's not the best thing for you guys to go and do. But as for the other hand, I intended it at first to be holding his head, like holding onto his head and being like, oh no, what now? Whatever shall be of me. But I think the hand on the head is feels too desperate for what he's feeling right now. And since there's gonna be a second page of this is not the last page, this is the second to last page of this comic, there has to be another page that further illustrates this whole conundrum here. So, I'm gonna be reserving the hand on the head for a probable more extreme situation at the end, or further ahead. So instead of having his hand on the head, I'll have his hand closed into a fist and pretty close to his head, but not quite in it. Kind of like, well, his shoulders will be kind of held up, close to one another. It won't be relaxed. It will be very tense, and he'll have his other arm kind of crossed against his chest like this, or maybe in another way. Slightly downwards, and closing to a fist, kind of a hopeful fist of hope things don't get too bad, something like this. This feels alright for me. I mean, pose wise, however, the proportions still don't feel quite right. So maybe that looks a little bit better. For me, it does. Okay, now what have I missed? Vito, hey everyone, also why so nervous, Nate? We'll see why eventually. And Grizz, if you actually can do all that from memory, you have pretty great creativity and accuracy skills. Or... yeah, precisely, you are right. Well, memory or imagination, still cool. And Donald Duck, be right back, making some food, you come back, sure thing. Have fun with your food. Grizz, you think using a bigger brush or pencil in digital drawing is more useful for doing sketches and getting down a base drawing? I do think so too. Because you're not so concerned with details and small minute things here and there. You're more concerned about the big picture. So yes, using a bigger brush when sketching is really helpful. There are many ways of sketching things though. There are people who make a sketch, then they, well, a very rough sketch, like more so blobs and big blockings of things, and then they create another layer where they do a refined sketch, and then lastly they create another layer that is the line art. I cut that step a little bit. I do start up with a very rough sketch, which is the scan, and then digitally I do sometimes I do the big blobs and thing, this sketching with big brushes and whatnot, but then I keep refining that on the same layer. I don't leave it like that and go to another layer. I keep on the same layer, just erasing bits here and there and refining the sketch. And I don't know why I do that. I guess I started doing it like that and kind of became ingrained into my workflow, which in a way influenced my art style, or my art style influenced my workflow. But these things do influence one another, so it's not so weird. And Chris, unfortunately, you don't even follow your own advice because you end up making so many sketches with too many mistakes and get frustrated later thinking you messed up too much. Yeah, that really sucks too. It's hard to come from a not very good sketch and keep working on things. Sometimes doing a bad sketch or doing a sketch that doesn't look pretty good or pretty novel can damage a little bit your confidence. But you are right. All of us who want to work or do art things, we should start up with a very blobby, very rough sketch. Like, keep it as simple as possible. If possible, even just do silhouettes. Like, this is the general silhouette of the body, the character, the pose, the whatever. Very basic, very simple, and then from the silhouette sketch, then you start doing a sketch that's a little bit more refined, but still not final. And then lastly, you do the sketch that is refined and supposed to be final. One thing I do, though, is I start up with these really rough sketches and I keep refining them, because for the longest time this was my workflow for commissions. I would go do a line work, a line art. I mean, before doing the line work or the line art, I would go and do this blobby sketch. Then I would refine it down to a pretty crisp and pretty good looking sketch, and I'd leave like that. I'd start coloring over it, and I was able to do so because my sketch looked crisp enough, so it wouldn't distract you. Like, you couldn't see construction lines or things that didn't have a very well defined shape or purpose. Everything looked, or mostly everything looked pretty final already. With the rare exception of some parts here and there. And then I would go and color that, or color shaded it, and shade it, and in the end it would look very much like a finished commission with a line art, except that I didn't spend 1 hour doing the line art for that drawing. I just left it at the sketch phase. But I think that only works because the way I do coloring and shading is so painterly in a way that it kind of blurs a little bit the sketch line, so it's harder to notice the sketch line the sketch lines with the way I do my coloring. It's not impossible, but it's harder. I think that's why I do it like that. But anyway, now that I'm done with this, let's power it up, erase some bits and touches here and there. Let's merge these two layers, the hand and the everything else. Let's reverse this because, as we all know, this bit here, since Nathan is holding the phone with his left hand, he should keep holding it with his left hand in every single panel. So here he is holding it with his left hand. The way it was before, it was flipped horizontally, so he was holding it with his right hand, and normally people would not realize that, but there's always that one person who will realize it. And besides, if you do realize it yourself, there's no reason not to go and fix these things. Okay, so now he looks frightened enough. Sprite, you're dumb. It's called me father. What do you mean? What do you mean? I don't get what you're saying. But now we are done with the sketch, quote unquote, because there's still the sketch for the, well, this entire gigantic thing here of Nathan running, crossing the crosswalk, or whatever that is called. Let's make this a touch smaller. I wanted to throw in more peeps into this scene. I don't know if I should or if I need to. I'll throw in a couple of trees down there. Maybe some bushes or whatever. Just to make this a little bit more visually interesting. Because in theory this is supposed to be more or less a sprawling, a big city, and a big city without people in the streets doesn't look that big. It looks pretty deserted, in fact. So the idea is to have more people in the streets. So I wanted to make people here in the crossing as well, some people down the street or whatever. But that's extra work, and I don't like extra work.
Track from the excellent label Rap Recordings. The music of Hackman on Worldwide FM.
So let's throw in these rulers here just so I can get Nathan's size and throw it around just so I can have a little comparison in case I end up drawing more people. They all stay in perspective proportion. We should do it. Vito, based on the expression either A, Nate's boss found out about what he's been doing, or B, he's just received negative critic. Who knows? Who knows indeed? It would help if I knew. Too bad that I don't. Except that I'm lying, I do know what it is, but I'm not gonna tell. because why would I tell these things and spoil the fun? So let's throw in a little bit more peeps in here. So there could be a little dude in here just walking, because that's what people do, they walk. Animal people as well, they walk. And since this is a big city perspective drawing, I don't think I need to make them very detailed, just some details here and there will be enough, so people can get a picture of what's going on. I don't need to actually go and draw their face super detailed and full of features. Just a little thing here and there should do the trick. And Donald Duck, the Viking, you're back. Welcome back. How was food? How was possibly dinner? Or possibly lunch? One or the other. Okay, so this person here is gonna be shorter. And Nathan's boss, she's not gonna be visible in the scene anymore because she won't. Okay, so throw in another peep there, another peep over here. I think you can do in Clip Studio though, with a little bit more expertise and technical knowledge, is create a brush based on whatever thing you have drawn previously. So I could say draw something like 5 or 7 of these people silhouettes, like in various positions. They make it a brush, and then I start painting it around. So here I want to give the impression that Nathan is running really fast, running instead of walking. So I'm gonna draw a bunch of people here at this side, of a bunch of animal people, to give it the impression that he's that they kind of all left together, but Nathan's ahead of everybody because he's running, because he's desperate. Yes, I am drawing these ugly ass silhouettes because why not? Although this could easily look like a zombie movie kind of scene as well. Vito, talk about XXX Holic-esque. What even is that? I'm not familiar with that. So, what I'll be doing right now, with the help of you lovely people, is the line art for this page. So we have the sketch here, I don't need the background anymore. Let's tone down the visibility to 25%. And let's create a new layer, and it's gonna be called, you guessed it, line art. Now let's get that line art pen. The one that's, like I said before, full of imperfections. If I make a straight line, it's kinda ragged along the edges. Especially if I do it this way instead of this way. This way it looks kinda sharp. This way you can see the raggedness a little bit more. And if I do it really big, you can even see even further imperfections in it. And I like this pen. So, line art time.
It's tropical thunder, it's William on your ball, it's body and soul, and it was Sin Kane with Sal P from Liquid.
As usual, I'll be doing the outer line art thicker than his co-worker there in the background, to emphasize how closer Nathan is to the viewer / camera. Vito, it's a manga created by Clamp, the creators of Cardcaptor Sakura and Tsubasa Reservoir Chronicles. In any case, I don't get why it's XXX. And Dale, hello! Welcome to the stream. How are you doing today? It is me, Doug, your lovely host, drawing page 17th of the Call Me Father comic. Right now I'm doing the line art for this panel here, and then I'll be doing the line art for the rest of the comic, as for the rest of the page as well. What I'm really gonna get stuck is when I have to redo these two backgrounds. That's what's gonna take the longest. And hence, I'm doing the line art for the characters first, because this is the most important thing to get right now. Not that I'll be throwing anything away, but if I get pressed for time, it is much easier for me to be sleazy about the backgrounds than to be sleazy about the main characters. But luckily, I'm one day ahead of schedule, so I have time to do everything the way I originally intended to do it. And the thing I like about this pen here that I made as well is that depending on the direction I'm drawing to and from, I get different line weights. The first is, obviously there is a line weight that is set by how hard I'm pressing the pen, with this being a tablet with pen pressure. So if I press my pen harder, it makes bolder lines. If I press it lighter, it makes thinner lines. However, this is a custom brush I made, like I've said before, and if I do things from the left to the right, they get thicker than if I do things from the left to the right, but from below, from the bottom to the top, They are thinner even if I use the same pressure. So I don't need to keep changing the size of my brush so often, because I can use these two mechanics, the pen pressure and the direction of my brush strokes, to control the width of my line. Because I'm a very simple person when it comes to tools and whatnot. I don't really see the appeal to having 3 different pens or 3 different brushes for painting or whatever. Both on traditional and digital mediums, I like to have as fewer tools as possible. So I have one brush for sketching, one brush for line arting, and one brush for painting. Unlike those other artists who have 3,000 brushes just for sketching. And I have I like to have as fewer tools as possible, because I can get much more familiar with them than I could with 1,000 of tools. And besides, the workflow of an illustrator who does big pictures and gigantic paintings and whatever is much different from the workflow of an illustrator who does comic books. So changing brushes is always something that takes time. You have to get used to your brush once again, and this little pause between changing from one brush to another, in the end they add up to a lot of time, and this time you have to get reacquainted with your new brush also kind of throws you off for some time there. So the more you can minimize the downtime you get from changing tools, the better for your workflow, and the more experience you get practicing with whatever brush it is that you use, if you only have one rather than having a dozen of them. So when creating this brush, I also thought of this, that I should do as many things as possible. So I didn't want to have one brush for doing line art, but then another brush in case I wanted to do a line art with a little bit of a texture or whatever. I wanted to have a brush that could do as many things as possible. And with all those things in mind, I came up with this brush here that I'm using. Which, by the way, I have to post on the Discord group in case anybody wants to give it a go. And Vito, you have said things. The things you have said is, according to Japanese culture, the axis across a relation or connection between objects, but 3 axes or crosses meant that some of the character in XXXaholic suffer for their affections to some objects. And Grizz, the artists make great work with any brush. Yes, indeed. My biggest inspiration is people who do traditional work using only a single pencil. They can make incredible artworks. And I see that and I say to myself, hey, it is possible to make very good work using very few brushes. You don't need to have a plethora of brushes with different configurations and textures and effects and whatnot. You can do pretty cool things with only a single brush. So I want to do that. But that's slightly bad, because it is good to vary the tools every now and then, to use new things whenever possible, but But I do like it, doing it things like this, using a single brush. Video, however, in English translation it was renamed to Holic since the 3 acts are usually a reference to occult and omitted to porn. Holic is a suffix for a person with a certain addiction to that object. And I don't get what's that, where that is coming from, Vito. That's what I meant. I mean, did any of us talk about something that's related to that? I don't think we did. If we did, I don't remember. Also, with time, I have seen people do many sorts of hands, like I was saying before. But one of the best and coolest styles of hands I have seen out there is when artists do the hands that are slightly more square-ish. Lots of Disney movies had this kind of aesthetic for some time. Disney movies and other animations and television in general. They have characters with kind of squarey fingers, and I think it's a very nice aesthetic. Because if you're an artist and you don't want to pay too much attention to hands, it is an instinct to use hands as little as possible, but if you truly want to be effective on conveying emotions and whatnot, you should use hands. They convey a lot of information along with everything else your character is doing, so hands are important. But some artists, they are not very good with anatomy, so their hands can try to do this cool gestures and whatnot, but they will look weird and kind of distorted on this artist style because they don't have a good hand anatomy. So a solution to that is doing these more squarey hands, because they still allow you to convey a lot of information, but are infinitely more easier to draw than rounded fingers and anatomically correct hands with fingernails and everything else. And I have started to apply that squarey aesthetic to the hands I draw as well. Not to that big an extent, but I have in some cases. Because like I said, I quite like it. And Vito, you should watch the anime version of XXX Holic to see what you mean. Sure thing, I'll never do that, but thanks for the recommendation nonetheless. But I don't mean that in an offensive way. I will never watch it because I'm not big on watching anime. I'm not big on watching things in general, truly. Actually, to be fair, I'm not big on consuming content in general. I barely watch movies, TV shows, animes. read books or anything else of the sort. I'd much rather be creating my own content. And I had that mentality for quite some time, until I realized how foolish of me that was. Consuming content is the only way to get a good notion of what people are doing and how well or badly that is. Video media can also be good sources of inspiration, even creative wise. Yeah, they can be. That's what I said. For the longest time, I didn't watch anything else made by other people, but I realized how that was foolish of me, because if I'm going to be creating content, I need to have a good repertoire of tropes, well, of knowledge in general, especially knowledge that caters to the type of content I'm creating. So consuming culture and content is the best way of preparing yourself for creating content. My biggest thing with it, this watching things, shows and whatnot, is that I always get this sense of waste of time. Because there is a very good article, I forgot the name of the guy who wrote it. I think it's David Young or something, or David Wong. He wrote an article for Cracked about, I think the name of the article is like 6 harsh truths about you, the 6 harsh truths that will make you a better person or something. And it's a brilliant article. It's amazing, and everybody should give it a read. But just sum it up, the article basically said that amongst one of these harsh truths was the one that that you should create content more often and consume less if you want to do something meaningful with your life, that is. Well, but then again, that doesn't apply to everybody, but to some people it is more important to be creating something, and if you are consuming content, you will spend too much time consuming and too little time creating. And they had some crazy values there, but they said something like, try to spend 1/4 of your free time, or at least 1/3 of your free time creating content, and then the other 2/3 of your time you can spend consuming content. And I've taken these words to heart. That's what got me into. These words have helped me push my own agenda forward and create my own content, because now I have this mentality that I should not be wasting time idly. I should be creating things. Because whatever it is that whatever content I consume, it won't change me for the better. It won't alter my world. Well, it will change me in some ways, but it won't be as meaningful as if I go and make my own things. Not to me, at least. Dale, speaking of hands, years ago you followed the daily comic called User Friendly. The characters were realistic humans but were drawn with three-fingered hands. The artist admitted he was poor at drawing hands, so he avoided them for the most part by posing the characters often with their hands in their pockets or behind their backs. And yeah, like I said, there is a lot of people who don't draw hands and avoid drawing hands, and I don't see where this three-fingered hands trend comes from. It's awful, it makes no sense. The only reason I can see for that existing is to make it easier for animators who don't know how to draw hands very well to animate things, because they have one less finger to worry about. But in any case, I still don't see how that's... I don't see why illustrators follow that trend. But anyway, Vito, why not do it equally? And Chandler, there's no right way to do it. Some people are inclined to create things, visual art type things, others are not. Vito, so basically people do creative things their own way, whether by the book or through experience or both, right? First, to address your comment, Chandler, the idea of the article was more of, if you're unhappy with the way your life is or whatever, then here are some 6 harsh truths. And this is the lesson I took for me, that I should spend less time consuming content and more time creating content. Of course, it will be very different for other people. These numbers, these ideals, this everything else. But the idea is you should do something you wanna do and something that you know will make you better. So theoretically do something constructive and productive with your life. And for me, being constructive and productive is doing art, creating art and art-wise content. And that's what I like to do, so that's what I focus my time on. For other people, it won't be doing art, it will be like making music, or I don't know, building a house, or going to the gym. Do something that will make you a better person. Do some self-improvement. Learn a new language is as well another thing that you are spending time doing something productive and constructive that in the long term will make you a better person or make you feel better about yourself. It is a skill you're learning. It is a thing about yourself that you're making better. That was the point of the article, is don't waste time. Do something with yourself. Improve yourself. If you're not happy with the way your life is, if you're not happy with who you are, then do something to improve yourself. So to me it was like, hey, if you wanna go and do something, then go and do something. Don't make plans about it. Don't keep thinking about doing it. Go and do it. So be productive, be constructive, do something. And this whole spend 1/3 of your free time creating content, it's the least. Because then again, you can't really create things if you have no repertoire of knowledge and tropes and a good library of references from which you can create new things. You need to have references, either real life experience with things or through someone else's experiences. So you need to spend some time consuming content, and so you can have better ideas for your own content you will or will not create. So consuming content, they say spend 2/3 of your time consuming content and at least 1/3 of your time creating content, but you can create more. What I used to do is spend most of my time creating content. Problem is I didn't have references, so my content I could only write from self experience. I cannot make my stories very deep or very interesting because I had no references from which to base my story on. So it was shallow in a way. It was only when I started consuming more content and looking away into other people's creations that I could get better ideas from my own creations. That's what the article is all about. That's the point. And back to you, Vito. People do creative things their own way, whether by the book or through experience or both. Exactly. And you know, that reminds of the time when a little amount of people from Rugrats take Dr. Lipschitz' philosophy too hard, but the rest not so much. I'm not super sure on what you're talking about. And Donald Duck, gotta go have fun, you all. Sure thing, Donald. Thank you so very much for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed this stream so far, and I'll be seeing you later. Take care, dude, and stay awesome. But indeed, I used to not watch anything on YouTube. For the longest time, the only things I watched on YouTube was sporadically music videos because I couldn't find the music I wanted to hear elsewhere. And these little tutorial videos that every now and then about a thing or two, or there's this YouTube channel called Extra Credits. They give awesome speeches on game design topics, but most of them are a lot of these topics holds true to most creative endeavors. So I've followed that YouTube channel only, but it wasn't for entertainment, it was more so for enlightenment. Only recently I started to watch more YouTube channels that were focused on other things, like Let's Play YouTube channels, because I started to try and get into the whole thing of consuming content. But not only that, I'm not consuming content just for the sake of it. I'm consuming content so it can, like I said, improve my library of references. And what I've noticed is that I don't have to go and watch only actually creative things like a book somebody wrote or a movie with some underlining tone or bigger purpose other than just being a movie. I can go and watch whatever, and what I've been doing is pay attention to a lot of Let's Play YouTube videos that focus on a group of people playing rather than just an individual person playing, because it is interesting to see how conversation develops and how this conversation takes turns and how friends interact amongst themselves in a earnest and honest environment. It's not scripted. It's not prearranged. It's all happening on the go. And by seeing how people react and interact with each other in that kind of environment, I get a better idea of how human people behave and interact with one another. And that gives me more property to write about characters in the future. If I want to make a character that, for example, has this or that behavior, now I have a better notion of how to do that. So, in short, I'm a pretty boring person, because even when I'm watching entertainment, I try to take something out of it.
It's all about the tunes. You're listening to Worldwide FM. That's right. Local hero John Wayne, Black Magic, some classic.
The video says anyway, Nate act cool at first, then the next thing one knows, Stress City. Indeed.
It's emerging, it's a new talent. His name is Roman Gian Arthur with I-69.
And this is one of the things I like it the most. Well, when I was younger, doing art in my elementary school days, I used to be very shy. I didn't like showing my drawings around to other kids. So every now and then people would ask to see what I was drawing, and I would say no, it's not done yet. It's a very common excuse artists give. But then I was very introspective as well, so I would stop and think about it and go, why? What else? Do I really feel like that, or am I saying that just because I don't want them to see? How can I further elaborate that excuse? So I started to think a little bit about it, and the thing I thought of was that instead of just saying, oh, it's not done yet, was that I would go and show, and not show people whatever it is that I was drawing. Firstly, because I was shy of showing my drawings around, but I started to use the excuse that I wanted to, that it wasn't done, and they would only show it when it was done and finished. That so people could tell me what they thought it was, because, you know, while it's a sketch, I have to go and tell people what it is. Like, I'm drawing a bus. Oh, that is supposed to be a bus. I didn't know. For me, it looks like something else. But anyway, I started to use that excuse because for me it felt okay. That's a believable excuse. But then I started to think about it, and there's property in there. There's more to it. It isn't just, hey, will you be able to tell what this is when it's done? And thinking about it made me think, hey, if I was drawing and only showed it to people when it was finished and not tell them what it was, I could see how well or how badly I'm drawing if people can interpret what it is that I'm drawing. So I started to use that. When I was drawing things, I would not tell people what I was drawing. I would only tell them after I was done and show them, and they gave me a guess of what they thought it was. And now that has extended to another level, which is here in the streams I don't show the text for these pages. I show only the drawings, mostly because showing the text will spoil things for everybody involved. So I don't show the text, I only show the drawings. But if by the drawings you guys can tell what is going on, what's happening, that's huge for me. Because, hey, just from looking at this picture, you can tell that Nathan is having fun. He's He's enjoying himself, and then suddenly he's despaired. He's really nervous, he's really agitated, and you don't need that